Alright guys, this is How Good Looking Are You Really, where we'll be calculating your male physical dating market value, or PDMV, which is essentially going to be how easy the dating game is for you. Conventionally attractive people have easier dating lives than conventionally unattractive people because a larger percentage of the population will find them attractive and give them a shot. Whereas unattractive people, although there are some people who will find them attractive, it's going to be far and few between, and so it becomes very difficult to find someone who you connect with and connects with you. The three traits that make up how good looking you are your facial attractiveness, how handsome you are, your body composition / frame, how muscular and shredded you are, and your height. You're going to find your three values as we go along in the video. You're going to remember them, and then at the end we'll calculate your PDMV. Keep it honest for your own sake. I mean, you're just lying to yourself, assuming you're watching this alone. So I don't know. The dating market's going to reflect how good looking you are to you anyway, so you might as well know what difficulty you're playing at. There's no lying to real life, you know. Facial attractiveness is where we'll start. Find your value on the out of 10 scale, which will pop up now. Let me shrink myself so you guys can see them all. Basically, you're just going to find the guy you're closest to in attractiveness. So if you're closest to the 5 guys, you're a 5. If you're close to the 8 guys, you're an 8. If you're in between two of them, so say you're in between the 6 and the 7, pick the one you're closer to. And if you're exact in between, give yourself a half point. Pretty simple scale. If you're above a 9, you're 10. If you're below a 2, you're a 1. Pretty simple. Moving on to height. I used the data given out by Bumble, where women can essentially filter by what height of guy they want to see. And it sort of aligns into tiers for me where I could come to this conclusion. We have this new out of 10 scale. So the average American is 5'9", so this is the North American scale. If you're in a country where everyone's taller, you're going to have to shift it, and shorter, you're also going to have to shift it, but the other direction. But essentially, it forms into tiers for us, and those make up how attractive your height is. Note that once you get above 6'7", I don't think you can really lose points because you're just so imposing looking. You're just going to find a portion of the population who finds you attractive, pretty much no matter what, even once you get to the 7-foot mark. Pretty simple though. Find your height, and we can move on. Oh, if you're wearing lifts too, if you're a guy who always wears 2-inch shoes, you can probably give yourself an extra inch because you're going to appear an inch taller than you actually are. Body composition / frame. So, this one's going to be the most complicated, but it's still pretty simple. You start with your body fat percentage, so whatever body fat percentage you think you're closest to, pick that one. So if you're, say, 10%, then you're going to be an 8 out of 10 body fat percentage. And 40%, you'll be a 2, etc. If you're 50 plus, so if you're fatter than these people, you're going to be a 1. You're then going to adjust for how skinny you are or how muscular you are. So if you just take the body fat percentage, Jason Momoa ends up with a worse physique than this guy, but I think no woman would agree with that, and so we're going to adjust. So using BMI, we're going to apply this filter to people below 20% body fat. So you don't even have to bother with this. You can just skip this section if you're not below 20% body fat. But if you are, then you're going to get a +1 if you're at 27 BMI. So Jason Momoa, 6'4", 220, 27, he gets a +1. And if you're below a 22 or below a 23, you're going to get a minus. So this guy's like 5'11", 30, 18, he gets a -3. And then we see a pretty accurate assessment of how good these physiques are. You're going to take those three numbers, your physique number, your height number, and your face number. We're then going to take them over to the weighting system. So I asked 10 women what they thought each one was worth, and this was the conclusion they came to. Face was unanimously number 1 at 50%. Height was almost unanimously number 2 at 30%, 9 for 10. And body was almost unanimously last at 20%, 9 for 10. You're then going to take your face value multiplied by 5, add your height value multiplied by 3, and then add your body value multiplied by 2. Take that number, which you just created, divide it by 10, and you'll get your PDMP. So if we go 7 times 5 is 35, and then 8 times 3, which is 24, and then 7 times 2 is 14. Add those three together and you get 73. 73 divided by 10 is 7.3, which will put you again at an easy difficulty. You're playing the dating game on easy mode with those stats. And if you end up 3.5, you're playing it on extremely hard mode, and medium easy if you're at a 6.5, and medium hard if you're at a 5.5, etc. Note that the average guy is playing on hard mode, and that is because most people find the dating game difficult because it's very competitive. Although, one thing I don't think people take into account is you only need to win once. And so even if it's difficult, if you really try for your youth, you'll find someone like ages 18 to 28. If you really try for 10 years, I think most people can find someone, even if they're playing on hard mode. Let's go to some examples. So this was what made me originally think of the video. We have this guy who I saw on the subway. So he's 4 out of 10, and he was really skinny, but he was with a 6 out of 10 chick. You almost never see people like 2 full points apart, but this guy was the exception. Why? Because he was 6'6", and I wondered, how much of a difference would being 6'6" make? And is there a formula I could use to account for people who are outliers in a single one or two? And using the formula, we see this guy comes out to a 5.7, which is almost a 6 out of 10, which means the two of them were basically looks matched. Pretty interesting, in my opinion. If we look at some other examples, Tom Cruise, this is how much can you make up for being short? Handsome ass face, really solid physique, but he's short. How much does this bring him up though? A lot. Brings him all the way up to a 7.1. If you're a handsome enough guy, even if you're short, you'll still pull. I think most people know that, but this is exactly how much. And if you want an equivalent, John Krasinski, who's 6'3", 8 inches taller, with a better physique, who's just less attractive facially, comes out to an even worse rating, just slightly though. Your face is like a lot of it, which again I think most people know, but now you know exactly how much. If you want, you can experiment with some other celebrities and get an idea on how much each one helps. But at the end of the day, I think this is pretty encouraging to the average guy. Why? Because I think in 2 to 3 years, the average guy can pretty reasonably achieve a 6 out of 10 face, just improving your facial hair and your skin and your eyebrows and your hair and your teeth. And I'll make videos about all of it, but there's a lot you can do. Wearing lifts, I mean, that's an extra inch free point right there. You could do that next week if you just order them online now. And your physique. Most people can achieve an 8 out of 10 physique in their life. In 2 to 3 years, maybe more like a 7, but either way, you're living on medium to medium easy difficulty with just the average guy's stats if you really try. That's not that bad. In 10 years, if you don't think you can find someone on medium easy mode, I don't know what to tell you. So, assuming you're still young, a lot of hope for you, even if you're just an average guy. If you're below average, I feel for you. I'll still make videos on how to get it up, but you're probably not going to be able to get quite to here. You're going to need to try harder than people who are more attractive. So, if you thought this was interesting, let me know in the comments and give it a like. If you thought it was dumb, also let me know in the comments and give it a dislike. Yeah. Thanks for watching.